Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the Center for State's video series on the 6 functions of teaming for the change and implementation process. This series is produced by the Capacity Building Center for States and funded by the Children's Bureau. In this module, we're going to break down the 6th and final function of teaming, which is debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps. Remember, at this point, a team has already identified the team purpose, team members, and the teaming structure, developed a team charter, a team communication plan, an external communication strategy, and worked together to guide the implementation process. In this video, we will talk about debriefing, evaluating, and identifying next steps through the change and implementation process. Let's get started. As implementation progresses, teams can benefit from taking time to evaluate the progress made and the functionality of the team structure. Teams evaluate and debrief to determine if their work is complete and what outcomes were achieved. Teams should also evaluate and debrief the process of working together to determine if there are any gaps in the knowledge or skills of their team members that may need to be filled, and to identify what next steps the team will take through the ongoing change initiative. Teams can focus on 3 key areas when debriefing progress and identifying next steps. First, assess completion by asking, is there additional work to be done? And as is, can the intervention be sustained? Next, gauge current skills by asking, do current team members have the skills needed for the project? And are new team members or skill sets needed? Finally, plan for fidelity by asking, what supports are necessary for the intervention to continue with fidelity? And what types of data will be used to evaluate fidelity moving forward? To debrief progress and determine if additional action is needed before moving forward, consider the following questions. Has the work of the implementation team been completed? Or have the deliverables or outcomes been met? Are the deliverables or outcomes meeting expectations? Does the team need to regroup to complete or sustain the implementation of the intervention or change? Does team composition need to change for this process moving forward? Remember, ensuring a strong teaming structure is an ongoing process. Teams who take the time to debrief and evaluate efforts can identify the resources and actions needed to close any gaps, complete outstanding work, and re-examine the team structure before moving forward. Doing so leads to more sustainable implementation over time. Let's check in on our example. After Diamond County's intervention had been in place for some time, the team reassessed the teaming structure to determine if it continued to align with the needs of the team's goals and objectives. Currently, their structure includes 3 core teams, the executive leadership team, the project management team, and the stakeholder advisory team, as well as 4 sub-teams, the design team, the recruitment selection and training team, the supervision and coaching team, and the implementation team. It became apparent that some teams had completed their work and were no longer needed, such as the design team, so they retired this team. Additionally, the functions of some teams had evolved over time. The recruitment, selection, and training team had completed their work to define the qualifications of intervention practitioners and supervisors and criteria, as well as methods for recruiting and selecting staff. So after the initial training of the practitioners, the ongoing training function was transferred to the supervision and coaching team. Remember, teaming is an integral part of the entire change and implementation process. It looks like Diamond County is doing the work to revisit the team structure over time and adjust the structure, members, responsibilities, and protocols to support the change initiative. Before moving ahead in the change and implementation process, it's a good idea for teams to assess whether the critical tasks for teaming are complete, including core steering and implementation teams have been established to guide the change and implementation process. Team purpose and roles have been determined and decision-making protocols are established. and a team charter and team communication plan have been created. Effective teaming is crucial to the success of each step of an agency's change initiative, from problem exploration through planning and implementation, monitoring and evaluation, to planning for intervention sustainability. Taking the time to create a strong and diverse implementation team, develop a team charter that everyone has agreed upon, and establish a comprehensive, bi-directional communication plan will provide an excellent foundation for the overall work of the change and implementation process. Let's take a moment to check in on what we've learned about debriefing, evaluating, and identifying next steps. Why do teams debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps? To evaluate the process of working together, determine if the work is complete, and determine how the team will move forward to sustain the intervention. How do teams debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps? By asking questions to assess completion, gauge current skills, and planning for fidelity. What can help teams debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps? Meeting as a group to document team progress, current and future team composition, and considerations for moving forward. Now take this a step further by reviewing the reflection questions and practice exercise for debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps in your teaming workbook. As a recap, the essential functions of teaming include identify team purpose, identify team members and teaming structure, develop team charter, develop a team communication plan and external communication strategy, working together to guide the implementation process, and debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps. Feel free to go back and rewatch any of the videos in this series to refresh your memory. Remember to use the teaming workbook to reflect on your learning, record any outstanding questions, and think through your next steps. Join us for the other videos in this series to learn more about the essential functions for each part of the change and implementation process.